Have you been in a situation in which you didn't get the promotion? You were the most competent person around, but you still didn't get picked. This is never going to happen to you again. Yo, I'm Jordan, helping you craft an epic life. It's great to see you. There is a misconception that I see time and time again, and especially with people at the beginning of their careers. That misconception is that you only need to be an expert. And communication, that doesn't matter. It's not important. And that misconception is what stops people from progressing in their careers. When you think about it, other people always have a say in whether or not you succeed. If people don't like what you create, you won't succeed. If the people on your team can't communicate with you, you won't succeed. If the people that you want to serve don't like your products or services, you won't succeed. All of this is fixed by better communication, discussing things, sharing ideas, giving feedback, all the different types of soft skills. So here are the soft skills that will boost your career. Number 1, feedback. Feedback is how we learn. Whatever we do in life, we receive feedback. And based on this feedback, we can do things in a different way or continue doing things in the same way, depending on whether or not we want that feedback. And you can see feedback everywhere. In games, for example, whenever you do an action, let's say you kill a monster, you get experience. The experience is the feedback mechanism that tells you, hey, you achieved something. You killed that monster and now you're getting a reward for it. So you should kill more of those monsters to get more of those rewards. And this is you learning, hey, if I do this, I will gain more experience. And after the experience bar fills up, you get yet another feedback, you level up, you get stronger, and so on and so forth. It's the same in the real world. You touch something hot, your body tells you, hey, don't do this, this is bad, it hurts. You say something stupid to someone and they start disliking you. You're very nice to someone and they start liking you. You do this consistently and you build a great relationship with the person. Think about where does feedback sit in your communication? How do you learn that you're communicating in the correct way? Yes, people will sometimes get mad at you and sometimes will be happy with you. But this is a very small fraction of the communication that we do. What about the other times? Those times you did something and you didn't receive any feedback. What do you do then? Most of the time, when you do something, other people won't just come to you and say, hey, I'm giving you feedback on your actions. That simply doesn't happen for a lot of the things that you do or say. And that's not great. So, step number 1 towards integrating feedback into your communication and learning from it is asking for feedback. Whenever you do something that affects you or affects other people in a meaningful way that you care about, ask for feedback. Take the person, go somewhere quiet, you don't want other people listening on your conversation, and ask them very frankly, hey, how did that experience with me affect you? How did it make you feel? Maybe it's positive, maybe it's negative, maybe they didn't understand the experience, maybe they have no thoughts or emotions over it. But you doing this is critical for you to improve your understanding on how other people perceive you. And this is the first step towards changing that. Now, step number 2. And this typically works best after you have practiced step number 1 a bunch of times. And that is giving feedback. After something happens and someone does something that you kind of disliked or something that you really liked, do the same thing. Get them in a room, say, hey, let's chat about this for a little bit, and then give them your honest feedback. Say, hey, I did like this and that and this and that about this experience that we just had, and say, hey, I didn't like this and that and this and that about the experience that we just had. Be very fair and try to be as unemotional as possible. If the experience is fresh, try waiting for a day or 2 so you're calm while giving that feedback. Soft skills that will boost your career. Number 2, share your emotions. And I realized that with a lot of people, they have been told that they should never share their emotions. I realize that and I understand that, but that's the worst thing you should do. You don't want other people to think of you as a mystery, especially if you want to collaborate with them long term. Whenever you're feeling something, make sure that this is visible and understandable for the people around you. Find a way to share it in a non-destructive manner without throwing, breaking stuff and so on, and before that is even necessary for you. This will help them understand you and help them be on your side. And the other problem that comes hand in hand with bottling your emotions is being ashamed of them. Don't be ashamed that you feel things. We are human, we do feel things. Trying to hide from that is just naive. So why share your emotions? When you share how you feel, other people will empathize and understand how you feel, at least a little bit. And after they understand how you're feeling, they will understand how and why you're acting in the way that you're acting. So they will be less offended or surprised by it. And that would make communication so much smoother and so much nicer for both of you. Soft skills that will boost your career. Number 3, subscribing to the channel. I'll help you craft an epic life and build an epic career, so why not
stay a while and listen?
Soft skills that will boost your career. Number 4, labeling. Labeling is a technique that will help you deal with emotions in other people. You remember emotions that we just talked about? Other people have those as well. Using labels, you'll be able to help them deal with them and would make conversations easier and smoother. First, a little bit of a backstory. Labeling is a technique that I first heard about from a book called Never Split the Difference. It's by Chris Voss. The guy was a terrorist negotiator for a bunch of years. He's a genius when it comes to negotiation. So read the book if you want the long and detailed version. So, how to label people and why do it? You do it because once you label emotions, people get conscious about them and then they control them better. And that this can help you bring the discussion to a normal level and help you reach the end that you want to reach. How to label? First, you need to listen. You need to let the other people express themselves, express their emotion. Second, you should not react to their emotion. If you get emotional while they're emotional, you just clash your emotions one into the other, and the result would be most likely a mess. Third, label the emotion. Name what you're seeing, name the emotion that you're seeing, and let the other person think about it. Be non-judgmental and very gentle. Say something in the lines of, "It seems to me that you are sad or angry," or whatever the emotion is. And this would allow you to continue having a real conversation. Soft skills that will boost your career. Number 5, listening. And by this I mean active listening, not just listening. So what is active listening and where's the difference between that and typical listening? In theory, there should be zero difference between listening and active listening. In practice, when people listen, we tend to wait for the other person to stop talking and then answer. This is what most people do. Active listening is when you don't do that. You actively absorb the information the other person is sharing, you try to put yourself in their own shoes, and then you accept it. You don't have to agree with it. If you do, that's fine, but it's not necessary. You just accept that the other person feels and acts this way. They have the right to. You shouldn't deny that right. You should genuinely be there and try to understand the other person for this to work. After you went through that step, feel free to continue arguing and discussing this, but if the other person has felt listened to, you'll be leading a completely different discussion and or argument. This is challenging, so how do you do that? How do you actively listen without judging and without doing all the typical things that most people do? Imagine that you're observing the person. You're not there to continue the discussion or argument. You'll do that later. As the observer of the other person, you just need to be genuinely curious about this fantastic human being in front of you. The other person is extremely interested and complicated. Listen to them and try to understand why are they doing the things they are doing. You should be just curious about them, nothing more. So, be curious, try to take it all in, and try to take their perspective for just a tiny second. That's all that is required. After you listen to everything, stop for a second and repeat everything you heard. Make sure you understood everything correctly before continuing the conversation. Try that out sometimes and you'll be astonished at how positively people react to you really listening to them. Soft skills that will boost your career. Number 6, say what you want. This is really the biggest problem I've seen. People don't take the opportunities that are given to them. Other people around you don't know what you want. They have their own agendas, and your thoughts and emotions are just a tiny part of them. But if you're very verbal about what you want from your life, from your career, from the people around you, from the way you communicate, and from everything else, then people will take that thing that you want into account and they will help you get it. So let me give you a way to say what you want and to find out what that is. The first step is to make what you want something real. It shouldn't be an abstract thought. It shouldn't be a feeling or emotion. It should be a concrete set of words, a sentence. And you should write this sentence down somewhere. For example, you can write down, hey, I want to get promoted this year. Hey, I want to find a girlfriend that year. Hey, I want to become a pirate today. Or I want to become the king of pirates, or something like that. It doesn't matter. But the important part is that you want to make the thing you want clear to you before trying to make it clear for the people around you. The second step, obviously, share what you want with the people around you. Make sure they know. Make sure they account for that in their daily thinking and meditations and whatever they do to pass the time. Make sure that the people around you know. Make sure they consider your wants in their decisions. That's a big part of you getting there. They can help you. Third, and this is kind of an extra to the previous point of sharing this with others, you need to find a way to be honest. Maybe you don't want to share your entire goal, or maybe some of it is very personal. And that's fine, I get that. But you need to share enough of your context so people around you kind of know in which direction you're heading, so they know what to expect from you. For example, if you want to start your own company, you don't need to say, hey, boss, I'm gonna quit in 2 years and start my own company. Maybe that feels too much for you. Maybe you can share that. I've shared that with my previous employers and they helped me do that. But if you don't want to do that, you can say, hey, I'm very interested in how companies work. I want to learn as much about companies as humanly possible. That's also fair. That's also a big part of your goal, but it's not that difficult part that you don't want to talk about yet. When that comes near, talk about it as well. That's a good idea. But before that, try to be as honest as possible to make sure that people can help you as much as possible. That's it. Apply those soft skills and your career will grow just like that. Oh no, not again.
Subscribe to Jordan and stay awesome.
Subscribe to the Dramatic Looks channel. Ding! Number 1. Bye.